I bought this set of drawers the other day and I just felt like it had so much potential to be turned into something really beautiful. So this is going to be the first video in a series where I cover this thing from top to bottom with all things that I love, and I wanted it to have a theme, so I went for Ghibli films. I'll explain later on why I decided to go with this. Each drawer is going to have a scene from one of my favorite Ghibli movies, and then I will cover the rest of the box last. I'm starting with the most well-known Ghibli film, which is Spirited Away. First, I covered the drawer in a few layers of acrylic paint, and then I started sketching some ideas of which scene from the movie I wanted to paint. I ended up going for the entrance to the bathhouse from the movie. I have made a Pinterest board, so all of the scenes that I will use for the series will be on there, as well as some honorable mentions. I did a little practice painting before I started, firstly so that I could decide on the composition I wanted, since I had to crop the original pretty significantly, and second to see what order I should approach painting. I do wish I paid a bit more attention to the second part, because I'll definitely have some regrets later on. As you can see, I had to get a bit fancy with my camera angle so that you could see what I was doing. I will be using acrylics for this entire box. At first I was a bit apprehensive. Acrylics don't have the best reputation in my books, but I actually found that acrylics work really well on this wood. So if you don't know, Ghibli Studios is a very popular Japanese animation studio, and Spirited Away is probably one of their most iconic movies. I decided to start with this movie because it was the first Ghibli movie I ever watched. I was really young when I saw it for the first time, and for years I couldn't remember the name of the movie. In fact, all I could remember was this beautiful scene, and of course, no face, because who could forget that gorgeous smile? Finally, when I was in high school, I came across Ghibli Studios and I rediscovered Spirited Away. Part of this movie's appeal to me is that it's so dreamlike. A lot of things don't make complete sense and the plot isn't completely linear, so it really does feel like we're watching the main character live out a dream. If you haven't seen the movie already, by the way, I definitely recommend it. So as to why I chose Ghibli as the theme for this box, I specifically went for Ghibli because these films actually had a big impact on my art style. If I look back at my art, I can clearly see how my style went from this very superhero-like comic book style to a much more artsy and I guess whimsical style. And this definitely correlates with when I got into Ghibli movies. And of course, I still love comic book art, but I feel like my style of art at the moment expresses more of my own personality. This is the part I mentioned before, where I wish I had paid more attention in that little practice painting. Basically, if I had just painted these white paneling lines at the very start, before I added the railing of the bridge, I would have saved myself a lot of effort. Instead, I had to get fancy with tape, which didn't really work anyway, and it just caused a lot of frustration. I decided to paint each box a color which I feel represents each movie, at least for me. So for Spirited Away, I chose this pinkish red, which we see a lot in the movie, especially since it is the color of the bathhouse. So hiccups aside, I am really happy with the end result. The colors turned out really bright, which I love, and I can't wait to paint the next row. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you very soon.